Now we're so great. So great. So great. Now we're so great. So great. So great.
My nan was so great. Jamaican roots cooked to soul plate. My nan was a champ, she was so great. She always had love, so grace. Even when I messed up, she would so wait. Correct me and fix me a soul blade. My nan was so great, full of wisdom. Even though she could hardly read. Full of strength when she tried to breathe. My nan was so great, over 4 strokes. My nan was so great, gave us all hope. I wrote this with a tissue and a sore throat. I remember reloading on your corrigo and asking for hugs and you saying no. But when I was hugging, you ain't letting go. But when I was hugging, you ain't letting go.
Sometimes it's only when they go that you know it's real. When alive, you better keep them close to your soul, like a meal. Sometimes it's only when they go that you know it's real. When alive, you better keep them close to your soul, like a meal.
My grandma was a strong woman. Broad shoulders, had a hard burden. My wife's like my grandma, a nice person. I remember in and out as your state worsened. I remember our last conversation of me speaking with you in person, and our last conversation on the phone. Wow, it was so great. You asked me to read you the book of Psalms as your eyes grew dim, so faint. I prayed for the first time. It was so great. It hurt that I never got to say goodbye in person. But I know if I'm faithful, we'll meet again.
Against what? I can't wait.
Sometimes it's only when they go that you know it's real. When alive, you better keep them close to your soul, like a meal. Sometimes it's only when they go that you know it's real. When alive, you better keep them close to your soul, like a meal. Sometimes it's only when they go that you know it's real. When alive, you better keep them close to your soul, like a meal. Sometimes it's only when they go that you know it's real. When alive, you better keep them close to your soul, like a meal.
Greatly desiring to see thee, being mindful of thy tears, that I may be filled with joy. When I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in thee, which dwelt first in thy grandmother Lois and thy mother Eunice, and I am persuaded that in thee also.
When alive, you better keep them close to your soul.
I'll probably continue to use Malcolm X because, and I'll probably use it as long as the situation that produced it exists.
I grew up in a broken home, known as the guy with the broken phone. My mom and dad had an argument. Dad headbutted her and broke her nose. Make videos, keep you on your toes. Grew up wearing my brother's clothes. Glory to Yah, cause the Father knows. Manure brings forth beauty. Have you seen a rose? Blended family, you know how it goes. On my father's side, I look like my bros, but on my mother's side, we ain't even close. Went to the church, called the Holy Ghost. Started reading, then I had to go off the grid.
Off the grid?
Now they think I'm Beelzebub or an evil kid. I give glory to the Father like the Son did. If you ain't covered, you need to come quick. Cause time waits for no man. Redirect, change your program. R.I.P. Joshua and Botham. The lamb was slain and pierced in both hands.
Both hands.
That's why when I pray I lift up both hands.
Both hands.
Rest in peace, Joshua. Rest in peace, Joshua.
So I remain Malcolm X as long as there is a need to protest and struggle and fight against the injustices that our people are involved in this country.
That was great. Glory to y'all.
Whom having not seen ye love, in whom though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory.
Rejoice, again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice.
Rejoice like the leper who was healed. Rejoice like you got paid and paid the bill. Rejoice like you've got processed the rows of meals. I know people are hungry, can't hold a meal. I know people are poor and can't pay a bill. I know people with diseases that wanna heal.
Whom having not seen ye love, in whom though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory.
Rejoice, again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. And again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. And again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice.
Rejoice like the leper who was healed. Rejoice like you got paid and paid the bill. Rejoice like you've got processed the rows of meals. I know people are hungry, can't hold a meal. I know people are poor and can't pay a bill. I know people with diseases that wanna heal.
Whom having not seen ye love, in whom though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory.
Rejoice, again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. And again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. And again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice.
Rejoice like the leper who was healed. Rejoice like you got paid and paid the bill. Rejoice like you've got processed the rows of meals. I know people are hungry, can't hold a meal. I know people are poor and can't pay a bill. I know people with diseases that wanna heal. But rejoice louder than the ones who hold the meal. Cause they make the king of kings to hold the wheel.
Hallelujah.
In death or in breath, they know the deal.
know the
They've
deal.
tasted and they've seen, they know yours
They
real.
know it's
So
real.
in any circumstances, they know the deal.
know the deal.
Your giveth, take away of is that sin.
Rejoice, again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice. And again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice.
Situations come, situations go, and it's random like itty bitty mighty mo. Keep rejoicing, watch your faith grow. Hard not life on this yellow brick road, but we know you're still sitting on the throne, dressed in a gown, angels all around. Faces will drop when he descends from the clouds. Rejoice today, don't envy the proud. Stand for the truth, don't stand for the crowd. The verse will be last, gas won't be found. The world's like a garden, you'll reap where you plowed. Rejoice, it's a choice, praise the Father aloud.
And don't be stressed, you don't need to, you are blessed. Will you trust him? Don't be stressed, you don't need to, just rejoice today. Rejoice, again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice. And again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice. And again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice.
Seeing ye have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit unto unfeigned love of the brethren, see that ye love one another with a pure heart, fervently.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Mic check 1 2 1 2. So happy Sabbath. I'm just gonna assume it's working properly and just go from here. So I just felt impressed to put this scripture reading in. Give me 2 seconds going off the script. Okay, that was the wrong one. That was the wrong scripture. 2 seconds. Here we go. I think. Nope, that's still the wrong one. That's definitely the wrong one too. Okie dokie. Okay, this is the one now. So it says, be not over much wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou die before thy time? That's interesting. That's interesting. Did you know that there's certain things that you can be doing and entertaining? Hate, envy, bitterness, escapism, alcohol, desserts, stress, spout, backwards or forwards. Certain things that people run to, elevate to, gravitate to deal with sin issues. And did you know that you can kill or die or end your life prematurely by doing things that we shouldn't be doing? Not just dietary and changing diet, but in terms of sin and cherishing evil intent. So that's just something interesting. I want to say a huge thank you to those who have been keeping my mum in prayer at this time, as she literally, you know, in that song it says situations come, situations go, and it's random like eeny meeny miny. Listen, this was a eeny meeny miny mo situation, you know, eeny meeny miny mo situation. So shout out the international brethren that have been supporting. Special huge shout out to Uncle Issachar. Uncle Issachar. I wasn't expecting that. So, shout out to my uncle, man like Dwayne, Issachar. You know, that was nice to see support from the overseas community. Yeah. So, as we start this one off, I just want to say that death is like going to the toilet. Death is like going to the toilet. You're gonna go one day. You know the way they're like. You can hold it in. You can try to suppress the urge by medication, vaccination, herbs, prayer, etc. But death is literally like going to the toilet. It's that natural due to this fallen world that death is just a natural thing. And it's just like going to the toilet. You're going to go one day, no matter how good your metabolism is or how bad it is. You haven't been for 3 days, it's going to come. But how you go to the toilet and what you do before going to the toilet is interesting. Have you washed your hands from sin? Or do you carry these things within? Are you going to the lamb for the sanitization? Or are you full of self and full of sin and ignoring salvation? So, yeah, man, as shocking as the news is and was and continues to be, it's an interesting times, man. It's interesting times, very interesting times. And life's not guaranteed. And today, every day is your present, So what you do with today ultimately can change your life. And also not even your life, but your children's life and your children's children. And, so just be wise. Use your time wisely because you don't get no refunds, That's just something, And if you got anything that you can reconcile, I'm not saying you have to sing Kumbaya with people, but if you got anything that you can reconcile potentially, you never know when you might not be able to reconcile. Even man like, I think Jacob and Esau reconciled temporarily off the top of my head to bury their dad. Or was it Isaac and, I'm just going off the top of my head. Was it Isaac and you know what? My brain's fried. I know some brothers reconciled though. It didn't stay an affable relationship, but they reconciled nevertheless temporarily, So just throwing that out there off the top of my head. So that being said, I mean, if on the topic of just the natural occurrence of death, I mean, Yahushua said, Lazarus come forth, and Lazarus, by a miracle, he came from the dead. He came from the dead. He came from death. But interestingly, he went back to sleep. So, that was just to illustrate that Yahushua has strength and that he's able to regenerate those people a second time again. So, yeah, I'll probably just end it there, man. But hopefully that made sense. And I just want to say thank you again for people who are supporting with their time to invest in their prayers for, the people over here on this side of the pond. So, yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so I want to start off with this scripture reading, and it says, remember the days of old. I love this scripture. It's one of my favorites when it comes to this history and having an awareness of your past. And it says, remember the days of old. So you're supposed to remember what took place in the past. And then it says, consider, which means you're supposed to ponder the years of many generations. So not just mommy and daddy, but granddad and great granddad, etc. Then it says, ask your mother. No, hierarchically it says, ask the father, and then he will show thee. So dads have a duty to circulate history, and then the dads circulate it to the family, and then the mom, who generally is in a household if it's not compromised, the history, the legacy is then taught to the children. So from the dad to the mom, and then the mom to the children. That's the structure. And it says, but if you ain't got a father, it says, and he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee. So if you ain't got a dad, you're unfortunate. Dad's no longer here, or your dad just doesn't know anything about history, which a lot of our dads don't really know a lot about history. Then hopefully there's some elders in the community who are able to instruct you in what took place in the past and give you history. Now, the interesting thing, we're going to be doing the book of the patriarchs, and we're going to be dealing with Joseph or Yusuf, and we're going to see that this is just something that our people did and still do today on the continent and throughout the diaspora in various places. So remember when Jacob was fading away, he was about to go on the toilet, and he called his sons, and he blessed his sons, and he prophesied over his sons, and he had insight into his sons. Many people don't know, in the book of Jubilees, Abraham, when he was passing away, he spoke to his sons and told them about history and about what there would be in the future and this, that, and the other. So it's not a new thing. It's not a random thing. It's not, coincidence. These things are what our people did. We had an oral history that we taught father to son, and then son to family, and that's how our history was circulated at various times. So that's just something to consider when we look at history. So to start the study, we're looking at the patriarch today called Joseph. Now in chapter 1, Joseph is the 11th son of Jacobi or Jacob and Rachel. He's the beautiful and beloved, and his struggle against the Egyptian temptress. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. And we're going to be looking at chapter 1 and chapter 2. There's only 2 chapters in the testament of Joseph. So without further delay, let's get into this. And I just want to ask that the Most High give us all a fresh revelation of the word. And I want to give a special shout out to the moderators that part of the study today. So Amina Coleman, Samuel Nace, Kwan, MSD2, Jules B. So I don't usually look at the chat feed when doing the studies. I try not to because it can be distracting. So if you've got any questions, feel free to hold them till the end of the study. All right, so we're going to start off this starting from chapter 1. Joseph, the 11th son of Jacob and Rachel, the beautiful and beloved, his struggle against the Egyptian temptress. When he was about to die, go to the toilet, he called his sons and his brethren together and said to them, my brethren and my children, hearken to Joseph, the beloved of Israel. Give ear, my sons, unto your father, which is the same thing we see here in Deuteronomy 32 verse 7. And interestingly, the context of Deuteronomy 32 verse 7 was in regards to the lands that Ham and Shem and Japheth were to occupy. Interesting. But we're seeing here that the history was taught from father to son and grandchildren, and it was taught directly to individual tribes and then amongst the brethren also. So it says, and I have seen in my life envy and death, Yet I went not astray, but preserved in the truth of Elohim. These my brethren hated me, but the Elohim loved me. They wished to slay me, but the God of my father guarded me. Now, you know what? When you go to verse 4, yeah, it says, I have seen in my life envy and death, yet I went not astray. You know, when people see envy and wickedness, it's easy to say, well, they did it, I'm going to do it. The pastor is in a compromised state, I'm going to compromise. It's easy to replicate and use others as a springboard for our apostasy. But notice he says, I've seen envy and death, yet I never went astray, but preserved in the truth of the Elohim. So who hated who and who loved who? His brethren or his brothers hated him. Yes, these are the patriarchs, you know, the 12 tribes. There was a love-hate relationship. It wasn't always kumbaya and romanticized. And just like many of our households, siblings don't talk to siblings. Family don't talk to family. The 12 tribes had a fragmented family, a blended family, a compromised family in places at times. Not all the time, good times, low times, but just to give you the reality so we're not romanticizing our own history. But who loved Joseph? It says, the Elohim loved me. Who guarded him? They wished to slay me, his own brothers, you know. This ain't Esau, this ain't Elam, this ain't Japheth, this ain't the Gentiles or the Goy. This isn't those characters. This is family, this is politics, this is internal domestic beef. And his own brothers wanted to kill him, but who had to guard him? He says, the God of my father, yeah, the Elohim, the Yahuwah of my father, had to guard me. So sometimes you might be under attack in your own house, you know, because you do things different to other people. You don't live the same lifestyle as other people. And just through your difference, you have enemies. Even Uncle David said, I have become an alien unto my brethren. And we know that Yahushua wasn't really favored in his own house. And he had politics with his brothers and his sisters and this, that, and the other, just for being different. Now, it says, the question I want to ask here is, in every obstacle, what was shown unto Joseph? It said, they let me down into a pit. Who's they? Israel, the brothers. And the Most High brought me up again. I was sold into slavery, and Elohim of all made me free. I was taken into captivity, and his strong hand secured me or succored me. I beset with hunger, and Elohim himself nourished me. I was alone, and Yahuwah comforted me. I was sick, and Elohim visited me. I was in prison, and my Yahuwah showed favor unto me. In bonds, and he released me. Slandered, and he pleaded my cause. Bitterly spoken against by the Egyptians, and he delivered me. Envied by my fellow slaves, and he exalted me. And this chief captain of Pharaoh entrusted me, Selaki, and the chief captain of the Pharaoh entrusted to me his house. So for everything that people scheme against you, if you are living a life that's pleasing to the Most High sight, the stone they roll for you often rolls back onto them. And oftentimes you might be being marginalized or treated differently from your own family members because you're not doing what they do or going to where they go or entertaining what they entertain or You're just different. You've been called for a set apart lifestyle. And because they still want to do what they do, eat their pork, violate the Sabbath, commit adultery, or take the Lord's name in vain, murder, envy, these things, you're never going to fit in, and you'll always stand out. And this we see happened with Yahushua, we see it happen with Joseph, and we could probably think of many other people, Elijah. The whole nation of Yasharal apostatized, Yeah, they whole apostatized, and Elijah was like, I'm the only guy left. So these things will happen. The closer you come to the Most High, generally people gravitate towards not you necessarily, but the Most High, or the words that the Most High has given you, or they either gravitate towards, or they abscond, or they go the opposite way, because they're not ready to let go of sin and unrighteousness. So in every obstacle, what was shown unto him? Grace, favor. Every setback was a step up. Every obstacle was circumvented. And this is because the Most High was with Yusuf. Now, how was Joseph treated in prison? Now, we have to understand, this is an innocent man. Many of our brethren are in prison right now. They're innocent. But how was he treated in prison? He says, and I struggled against the shameless woman, urging me to transgress with her. But the Yahuwah of Israel, my father, delivered me from the burning flame. I was cast into prison. I was beaten. I was mocked. But the Elohim granted me to find mercy in the sight of the keeper of the prison, which is similar to what happened with Uncle Shaul. When he went to prison, he found so much mercy, and to the point where he stopped the prison guard from being killed by interceding for the prison guard, who probably may have mistreated him. But when he had the opportunity or the upper hand, he didn't show the same disrespect that he received. For the Elohim doth know, or Salak, for the Lord doth not forsake them that fear him, neither in darkness, nor in bonds, nor in tribulation, nor in necessities. For Yahuwah is not put to shame as a man, nor as the Son of Man is he afraid, nor as one that is earth-born is he weak or affrighted. But in all those doth he give protection, and in divers ways doth he comfort. Though for a little space he departeth to try the inclination. Oh my days, listen to this, yeah? Listen to this. But in all those things, what things? The trials and the tribulations, doth he give protection. What's protection? Favor, mercy, grace. And in diverse ways doth he comfort. So in your tribulations, woe is me, we're going to pay the rent, whatever. In diverse ways, so he has a different way of comforting people. Yeah, so it says, and in diverse ways doth he comfort. Now listen to this part now. For a little space he departeth to try the inclination of the soul. So if it always left me, is about, like Yahushua on the cross, little space. We see little space from time to time, and that little space is to try the individual. Where they bow down to the statue? Were they walking through the furnace? Will they eat the swine because the Greeks are compelling them to? Tries people for a little space. In 10 temptations he showed me approved, and in all of them I endured. For endurance is a mighty charm, and patience giveth many good things. Don't get triggered by the word charm. Okay. How often did the Egyptian woman threaten me with death? So, how was Joseph treated in prison? To answer the question, he says, I was cast into prison. So, he was cast. He was an innocent man. Me Too. You know, this Me Too movement. He was an innocent man, unfortunately cast into prison. And he was beaten. Now, some people with a churchianity mindset generally, or just normal people, they always say, there's this understanding that if you're good, do good and good will follow you. But that's not always the case scripturally. We know that's not the case. Like, good people are often misrepresented, misunderstood, and demonized. And those who do bad are often perceived as those who do good. In Isaiah 5:20 it says, woe to those that call good evil, evil good, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Paraphrasing off the top of my head. So oftentimes those who are wicked get a seat at the table, and those who are righteous are often ignored and crucified, metaphorically speaking. But how was he treated in prison in that circumstance? He says, the Elohim granted me to find mercy in the sight of the keeper of the prison. Joseph fasted. Why? And how was his fast different to the Egyptians? Joseph fasted. Why? And how was his fast different to the Egyptians? And who did he weep for? Who did Joseph or Yusuf weep for? Let's find out. You're gonna find this woman was some super duper Pepe Le Pew, you know. Now, for all those old heads that know about Pepe Le Pew, for the 12 o'clock crowd, they're like, who's Pepe Le Pew? Well, you'll see Pepe Le Pew as we go through. So, it says, how often did she give me over to punishment? You know, okay. How often did she give me over to punishment and then call me back and threaten me? And when I was unwilling to accompany with her, she said to me, thou shalt be Lord of me, and all that is in my house, if thou wilt give thyself unto me, and thou shalt be as our master. So Joseph is saying, how often did she give me over to punishment? She was showing breast and thighs and lovely eyes to entice man like Joseph, you know. And she would threaten him, do all kind of stuff, just so that he could, you know, cut some trees. But what was Joseph's response? He says, but I remembered the words of my father. This is why dads play a critical role, you know, in circulating the information. And we don't always get it right, but that's how we're able to then circulate information to give our children forewarning of what we did wrong. And this is what you see in the Patriarch's Council. A lot of them did a lot of bad things, you know, and they got it wrong many a times. But it was through their mistakes I was able to give cautionary counsel to their posterity. But he said anyway, but I remember the words of my father, and going into my chamber, I wept and prayed unto the Elohim. What else did he do? Did he just pray about this woman trying to throw herself on a plate? Pretty much. He said, and I fasted in those days 7 years. Wow. Now that doesn't mean he was just fasting like but he was fasting 7 years. Yeah. And I fasted in those 7 years. That's what I meant to say. Let me say that again. And I fasted in those 7 years. So for over a 7-year window, this woman is trying to throw down her panties and welcome some consummation and violate her vows that she had with her Egyptian husband. And I appeared to the Egyptians as one living delicately. For they that fast for your sake receive beauty of face. Yo, all right, let me read the whole thing again without even. I'm not gonna add to. I'm not. Listen. And I fasted in those days 7 years. How long did he fast? 7 years. And I appeared to the Egyptians as one living delicately. How did he appear? As one living delicately. You know, Daniel did that fast for like a couple of days or 10 days, and he looked different. This guy did a certain fast for 7 years and just looked different. For they that fast for your sake receive beauty of face or beauty of countenance. And if my Elohim were away from home, or Salaki, and if my Lord, regarding the Egyptian who was the Lord of the house that he was living in, and if my Lord, regarding Potiphar, were away from home, I drank no wine, nor for 3 days did I take my food, but I gave it to the poor and the sick. So this guy knew, you know, in these 7 years of this woman throwing down her panties and saying, you know, let's do this thing. When the Lord or her husband left the house, yeah, he said he wouldn't even entertain drinking wine. Why do you think that would be? Why would you not entertain drinking wine when the man's left the house and she's there on a Nicki Minaj hype, on a Shania Twain hype, on a, I don't know. Why are you not going to drink wine? Because even as sanctified and as holy as you think you are, that's just giving you a channel where you might compromise. Look at those fires. And I saw the Elohim early, and I wept for the Egyptian woman of Memphis. For very unceasingly did she trouble me, for, listen to this here, for also at night she came to me under pretense of visiting me. Now, I don't know if this was when he was in prison at this point, or when he was just there living in the house, but she would call at night time, yeah, the booty call, the late night booty call, when everyone gets itchy fingers. It's dark. You have the cloak of darkness to not be seen and, you know, get out. For also at night, she came to me under the pretense of visiting me. And because she had no male child, she pretended to regard me as a son. So we can see that this woman was a very, very, very mature woman in comparison to Yusuf at the time, to the extent where he was regarded as her son, but she weren't really seeing him as no son. She was seeing him as a toy boy of who she wanted to have some fun, is what I'm trying to say. So Joseph fasted. Why? So that he wouldn't fall into temptation. His fasts made him have a beauty of countenance. Most people who fast, most people who are sick and poorly in hospital, the first thing they say to them is don't eat any meat. Yeah? Have vegetables, have fruit, have water, and their countenance changes. So we know that there's benefits in fasting. Fasting unto the Most High, or just fasting for your own personal fast. And because she had no male child, she pretended to regard me as a son. So this woman was very crafty in trying to get this guy into a sticky situation. Now let's switch it. There's some guys who are just like this woman, you know. They're very crafty, you know. They do the same thing this woman's doing. Sending those Facebook pokes. When I used to be on Facebook, I don't touch that with a barge pole, but, you know, send their pokes or whatever apps they are now that people use. And they're working for 7 years, you know. Sending all kind of filth or all kind of, trying to get into people's panties and delicate places. Yeah, working 7 years. So I'm just swinging it backwards and forwards, forwards and backwards. Women do it, men do it. It's a sin issue. Now, check this. It says, and for a time she embraced me as a son, and I knew it not. But later she sought to draw me into fornication. And when I perceived it, I sorrowed unto death. Why do you think he sorrowed unto death? He's looking at this woman as some surrogate mom. You get me? Rachel, his mom, and his dad Jacoby, they're far away. She's shown him empathy, sympathy, helped him, supported him, clothed him, encouraged him. But in the back of her mind, she's doing that self-serving because she wants to get some action without any thought or camera. Yeah? And when I perceived it, I sorrowed unto death. And when she had gone out, I came to myself and lamented for her many days, because I recognized her guile and her deceit. And I declared unto her the words of the Most High, if happily she would turn from her evil lust. So he was saying, Most High, make this grown woman who should be looking after her grandkids, or having some kids or some or just doing something, yeah? Make her turn that lust for me, a young man, her toy boy lust, make her turn it away and direct it back to her husband who she has. Often, therefore, she flattered me with words, blandishments. Oh, he's a handsome young chap. Often, therefore, did she flatter me with words as a holy man. Yeah, oh, he's such a holy man. And guilefully, in her talk, praise my chastity before her husband. You see that guy Joseph is so holy. He would never sleep with any woman without marriage. He would just be a 40-year-old virgin before he transgressed and fornicated. And she'd be talking and hyping him up around her husband, knowing that she wants to, you know what I'm saying? For she lauded me openly as chaste. Oh, sorry, let me read that. Often, therefore, she flattered me with words as a holy man, and guilefully in her talk praised me of chastity before her husband, while desiring to ensnare me when we were alone. This is why we take what people say words on face value, and this is why the Most High understands the intent of the heart. So just because someone's speaking nice words, calling you a holy man, making you get gassed and inflated and egotistical, what is the agenda behind the agenda? For she lauded me openly as chaste, and in secret she said unto me, fear not my husband, for he is persuaded concerning thy chastity. For even should one tell him concerning us, he would not believe. This woman went above and beyond to reinforce to her husband that, you know what, Joseph is so chaste, I think he might be gay. You know, he's so, like, he could just be surrounded by 6 women, buttocks and show, just naked, and, you know, he's so chaste, he would just fast, pray, look the other way, and, you know, he's just that kind of guy. So that's how she presented Joseph to her husband. And her husband was so like, you know what? I think you got a point there. So she was saying, even if somebody was to say that we had foreplay, fornication, they wouldn't believe the report because of how I presented you to my husband. So the question was, who was embraced as a son? Joseph. What name did she use to flatter? She called him the holy man. What did she desire from Joseph? Fill in the blank. Owning to these things, I lay upon the ground and besought Yahuwah that Elohim would deliver me from her deceit. You know what? There's actually a film, you know. Oh my days. There's a film that, oh man, I don't know what the film's called, but there's this woman, she's so obsessed with this writer. She's so obsessed with this writer. I don't know how I think I was just being naughty. My mum was watching the film and I snuck in while she was watching it when I was a youth. And I was like, what's this, mum? And I managed to watch a little bit of the clips. She was so obsessed with this writer I just remember this particular clip. I can't remember the story, but she tried to break his legs, so that he wouldn't leave her house. Like, I think it was a car crash or something, and she saved him. And then she was so obsessed with the man. She was so obsessed with the man that she broke his legs because she didn't want the guy to leave her house. Actually, I think it's called Misery, a film called Misery. Yeah, and she was scheming, plotting and scheming for this man not to leave her house. And this just reminds me of this woman in this case, in this scenario. And when I was talking about Pepe Le Pew, this is Pepe Le Pew here. And he was just obsessed with trying to engage in relationships with this skunk. And yeah, he was basically a glorified rapist that was introduced to us via Looney Tunes in the form of Pepe Le Pew. Now, what did she want in exchange to leave her idols? What did Joseph do often to overcome sin? What did she want to kill, and what for? Why did Joseph rent his garments? And when she had prevailed, nothing thereby, she came again to me under the plea of instruction, that she might learn the word of Yahuwah. There's some women that will be like, yo, you're such a holy man. I want to hear your holy word, quote unquote. I want to have a Bible study. But the Bible study is just an attempt to lead to seduction. Let's not just throw the women under the bus. There's some men who say, hey, let's come do a Bible study. But the intent is seduction. So the word of God is open up for seductive purposes. Yeah, you just found out you're an Israelite. I'm an Israelite too. Let's study the Bible together. Wink, wink. Oh, you just found out this and found out that. Let's study the Bible together. Wink, wink. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that sounds amazing. I wanna look at that, in more detail with you. I can't really do Saturday morning. I can do Saturday night. Wink, wink. And when she had prevailed, nothing thereby, she came again to me under the plea of instruction, that she might learn the word of Yahuwah. And she said unto me, if thou willest that I should leave my idols, lie with me, and I will persuade my husband to depart from his idols, and we will walk in the law, by the Elohim. So how are you going to say, okay, I'm going to keep the commandment that says thou shalt not kill, but I'm not going to keep the commandment that says thou shalt, remember the Sabbath. Let's just compromise. I'll keep one and I'll transgress the other. And yeah, I'll follow the law. You can't do that. Let me just close my door. Can it just open? So let me say what I'm saying again. How are you gonna say realistically, if you fornicate with me and commit adultery, so I want you to commit adultery with me, and then I'll leave my religion, I'll leave what I do. This is not a new thing, Many people do this today, but we do it in a different way. We do it in a different way. Some people do this. If you become a Muslim, or you have to become a Muslim for us to get married. If you're not a Muslim, we can't get married. So you got people who say, you have to do this for us to be married. It's the same kind of principle. She's saying, if you would just, accept me to the degree where you'll sleep with me, I would leave my religion and come to your religion, but I need commitment. I need it to be. I need physical reassurance. I need some physical reassurance before I leave my idols. And the same thing happens today. Yeah. Same thing. Be a Buddhist, be a Mormon, whatever. Be a Adventist or whatever. Same thing. Leave this and I'll do this. I'm violating this. But let's read on. And she said unto me, If thou willest that I should leave my idols, lie with me, and I'll persuade my husband to depart from his idols, and we will walk in the law of the Lord. So not only will I leave my idols, but ah dear, you can't make this up. And I said unto her, The Elohim willeth not that those who reverence him should be in uncleanness, nor doth he take pleasure in them that commit adultery, but in those that approach him with a pure heart and undefiled lips. But she hid her peace, longing to accomplish her evil desire. And I gave myself yet more to fasting and prayer, that the Elohim might deliver me from her. Now, remember when Daniel and the three man them prayed, yeah, to understand Nebuchadnezzar's dream so that they weren't dealt with and murdered and killed. This guy is saying, I'm fasting and praying that I abstain from this woman, or that this woman doesn't get the better of me and I just compromise and I sin. So he's seeing this woman as the lion in the den, the fiery furnace, the Nebuchadnezzar statue. He's seeing her as that kind of test. Even though there's no death decree, he's saying, boy, this is a death decree for me. If I have hanky-panky with her, my witness, everything's just going to collapse on itself. You see what I'm saying? Or, no, it will collapse on itself. But, yeah, it will. But it's gonna be harder to do what I could have done because I've violated certain elements of the Most High. Because you can always come back from what you've done. But even so, it's going to be harder because people see what you've done. You know? Again, another time she said unto me, If thou wilt not commit... Yo, listen to this. This is mad. And again, at another time, so this is another conversation she had with this young man who's supposed to be her son. If thou wilt not commit adultery, I will kill my husband by poison and take thee to be my... blows and... Boy, this woman is Pepe Le Pew on steroids, brethren. On horse steroids, cow steroids, on chicken pills, on whatever you want to call it. This is what she's on, you know. She's saying, you need to commit adultery with me, and I'll kill my husband, so, you know, you won't be committing adultery because I'll kill him by poison, and then I can marry you as my husband. So this was some big plotting and scheming. Some big plotting and scheming, man. Where she wanted to murder her husband so that she could take up her toy boy. So what did she want in exchange to leave her idols? Adultery. What did Joseph do often to overcome sin? I.e. adultery and lust. He fasted and he prayed. Who did she want to kill and what for? She wanted to kill her own husband so that legally he would be able to commit fornication with her. Why did Joseph rent his garments? Because when she told him what she wanted to do to his lord, remember he called him his lord, you know, he had respect for his Egyptian lord or Potiphar. He had respect for him. And he's like, yo, I'm renting my garments. He just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't deal with this EastEnders storyline or this Neighbours storyline or whatever soap you guys have in America or Africa or whatever. Yeah, whatever soap you have. This sounds like a soap plot. Yeah, we're just waiting for the dum 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 dum. Yeah? Because that's what was going on right here. What was done to Joseph's food? What did Joseph say to make her afraid? Woman, reverence Yah, and do not this evil deed, lest thou be destroyed. For now, for no indeed, but listen to him now, you know. For know indeed that I would declare this device unto all men. I'm going to put this on Facebook, you know, as a post and say, look, your wife is trying to commit fornication with me, you know. I'm just going to hot you up. Yeah, I'm going to put it on my community feed and say, sister so-and-so is trying to give me a number and send me one bag of crosses in Texas. Yeah, I'm just going to blast you out. I'm going to screenshot the This is what Joseph was on, you know. I'm going to screenshot the convo and make it go viral. Yeah. Because Potiphar wasn't no average Joe, you know. He said, yo, this is going to go viral. She therefore being afraid that the video might go viral and her messages might go viral, or let's just switch it again and say it was a man this time. He therefore being afraid that this message was going to go viral, or that the video was going to go viral, or that the screenshots were going to be shared. She therefore being afraid besought that I would not declare this device. So she was like, please, please, don't pull it on the wall. Don't pull it on the wall. Don't put it on the community tab. Yeah. And she departed, soothing me with gifts. So she tried to bribe him and sending to me every delight of the sons of men. So she sent him, I don't know, the latest gizmo, some Air Jordans, you know, for all our materialistic crew. She might have brought him a new car, you know, brought him a new hoodie, brought him some deodorant, some aftershave, whatever, just to keep him calm and collected. Afterwards, she sent me food mingled with enchantments. There's people now that are selling all kind of perfume with vaginal with vaginal scent. I'm not saying she did that, but we're seeing these potions today in real time. All these celebrities trying to sell their womanly odor for some reason. And when the eunuch who brought it came, I looked up and beheld a terrible man giving me the dish. And when the eunuch who brought it came, I looked up and beheld a terrible man giving me with the dish a sword, and I perceived her scheme was to beguile me. And when he had gone out, I wept, nor did I taste that or any of the other food of her. So he's like, yo, I'm not eating your food, you know. The dumpling looked sweet, the ackee looked good, you know, the okra looked tasty, but I know that you put some sort of something on this. The sweet potato looks fire, but I suspect foul play. So, like, she tried to spike his food. That's what you could call it. Spike. The love potion is spiking. She tried to spike his drink and spike his food so that he'd be out and that she could just have her way. Wicked beast, you know. Tried to spike his food, man. Oh, dear. You thought spiking food was a new thing, yeah? You thought spiking food was a new thing. Ah, okay. So then after one day she came to me and observed the food and said unto me, why is it that thou hast not eaten of the food? Come on, you're supposed to be off your face now. You know, open to suggestion. You know, what's going on? And I said unto her, it is because thou hast filled it with deadly enchantments. You spite me food, woman. How saidest thou, I come not near to idols, but to the Elohim alone? This woman was serious, you know. If only people were so serious like this for the Most High. They were just so on fire like this for the Most High. What did the angel show? What did she promise? Now therefore know that the Yahuwah of my father have revealed unto me by his angel thy wickedness, and I have kept it, and I have kept it to convict thee, if haply thou mayst see and repent. But thou mayest learn the wickedness of the ungodly have no power over them that worship Yahuwah with chastity. Behold, I will take of it and eat before thee. So he said, you know what? Listen, because of my relationship with the Most High, yeah, and because I worship the Most High and I have chastity, yeah, so I have faith and works. I'm not just all about prayer, but I have to work. Faith without works is dead. So he's saying, okay, because I have a living, faithful, working relationship with the Most High, he says, I'm just going to eat this thing in front of your face. And having so said, I prayed, thus the Yahuwah of my father and the angel of Abraham be with me, and ate. So he said, your little concoctions, your little spells, it's not going to work. You know, I'm going to show you how my heavenly Father has power over these things. And when she saw this, she fell upon her face at my feet, weeping, and I raised her up and admonished her, and she promised to do this iniquity no more. But, just like Pharaoh, her heart was still set upon evil, and she looked she looked around how to ensnare me, and sighing deeply, she became downcast, though she was not sick. So she was all melodramatic, you know. Oh, and just fainted. Yeah. Fainted in his wait there. I raised up her arm to admonish her. So he probably hugged her at this point, raised her up and gave her a little hug, a pet, I don't know. He admonished her. And then she promised not to do it anymore. But her heart was still set on hanky panky. And she was looking around how she could ensnare him. And then she downcast herself to try to make out, oh, I'm sick, I'm poorly. So she could get some sympathy, crocodile tear, or, you know, play on the heartstrings, this, that, and the other. So this woman was very, very calculated. Don't get it twisted. There's some brothers who are equally calculated in this respect too, you know. Now, what did she threaten to do? What did Joseph say to deter her scheme? And when her husband saw her, or looking all miserable, he said unto her, why is thy countenance fallen? And she said unto him, and she said unto him, I have a pain at my heart. Yo, this woman's nuts. She said, I have a pain at my heart, and the groaning of my spirit oppressed me. This woman was making herself stressed because she was trying to transgress. You know how many people are actually stressed because they're living a life that transgress? Living a life of guilt, shame, apostasy, whatever. And it's killing them, you know. Stress. And she said unto him, I have a pain at my heart. She's trying to say she got a stroke, you know. Silly woman. And the groanings of my spirit oppress me. And so he comforted her, who was not sick. Then accordingly, seizing an opportunity, she rushed unto me while her husband was yet without, and said unto me, I will hang myself or cast myself over a cliff if thou wilt not lie with me. And when I saw the spirit of Belial was troubling her, I prayed unto Elohim and said unto her, why wretched woman art? Why wretched woman art thou troubled and disturbed, blinded through sins? Just like the same way Uncle Samson was blinded through sin. Lust can tend to blind people. You'll do things that you wouldn't normally do. And generally speaking, as a man who has fallen for lust in his past life, as soon as you do that deed, you feel like a wretch after, you know. As soon as that day breaks and the sun comes out and what was kept in darkness is now revealed, you feel like a wretch, you know, if you have a conscience or you're pricked by the spirit. You're like, why? This woman don't even look all that. And I've just jeopardized my relationship with the Most High for this. And so on and so forth. Then he says, remember that if thou kill thyself, Ashtal, the concubine of thy husband, thy rival, will beat thy children and thou will destroy thy memorial, and thou will destroy thy memorial from off the earth. She's saying if you go through with this plot, your concubine, your rival, is gonna beat your children, that means kill your children, and destroy your memory off the earth. And she said unto me, Lo, then thou lovest me. Let this suffice me. Only strive for my life and my children, and I expect that I shall enjoy my desire also. Yo, this woman's tapped. The woman's tapped. Woman is truly, truly and utterly tapped. So she's willing at that point to sacrifice even her children just for some hanky-panky. I don't think you understand how this, you know, when Paul says, if someone's burning, it's better to marry. Because this woman, she weren't burning. She was burnt up, man. She was carbon dated, charcoal-lated. I just made that word up. She was on some charcoal level, you know. It was just fire. And don't get it twisted again. Disclaimer. There's some men also who are on these vibes too. Now Joseph was the victim of what? The Most High delivers and exalts who? Joseph is a victim of many plots by the wicked ingenuity, she was a genius, of the Memphian woman. Ye see therefore, my children, how great things patience worketh, and prayer with fasting. So patience, prayer and fasting are weapons against the enemy. When you're about to get angry, yeah, due to injustice or whatever, take a moment just to be patient. Don't let your temper or your temperature increase. Calm, be patient first, analyze the situation, be analytical, then pray and ask that the Most High's favor or counsel or for his direction, and then also accompany that with some fasting, you know, day fast, half a day fast, a fast from certain food or fast from a certain thing that you do. So ye too, if you follow after chastity and purity with patience and prayer, with fasting and humility of the heart, the Elohim will dwell among you because he loved chastity. What did the world throw in our face? Soft porn. Everything's about sex. Sex sells is the saying. Music nowadays is just mumble rap. People just showing their legs, showing their thighs, showing their eyelashes, showing this, that, and the other. The industry is just all about sex. Don't get triggered by the word sex, by the way. You guys should be mature enough to know that sex isn't bad and sex isn't good. It depends on how it's performed and who by and who not by, etc., etc. And also, as believers, we need to be having certain conversations in our community and stop being scared to touch on that three-letter word. And whosoever the Most High dwelleth, even through envy or slavery. Let's read that again. So ye too, if you follow after chastity and purity with patience and prayer with fasting and humility of the heart, the Elohim will dwell among you because he loveth chastity. And whosoever the Most High dwelleth, even through envy, slavery, slander, befalleth a man, the Elohim who dwelleth in him, for the sake of chastity, not only deliver him from evil, but also exalteth him, even as me. So Joseph was the victim of what? Many plots. Who was exalted? Joseph. What did Joseph have in his heart? Let's find out. For in every way the man is lifted up, whether in deed or in word or in thought. My brethren knew how my father loved me, and yet I did not exalt myself in mind. Although I was a child, I had the fear of Yah in my heart, for I knew that all things would pass away. So even though he had the attention of his dad, according to his own affidavit, he never flaunted it or you know, he was considerate for his brethren. How many of us, when we get a promotion, when we secure that perfect job? Do we flaunt our achievements over somebody else to make them feel insignificant, to make them feel small, to make them feel as if, you know, they're nothing, they're insignificant? How many of us do that? How many of us really do what Joseph did and said, why, you know, just kept it moving, kept it humble, and kept it sweet? How many of us really get prideful, egotistical, all up in your DMs with exclamation marks and going on unstable? Okay, Joseph did not tell on his brothers. Why? Let's find out. And I did not raise myself against them with evil intent, but I honored my brethren, and out of respect for them, even when I was being sold, I refrained from telling the Ishmaelites that I was a son of Jacobi, a great man and mighty. Do you also, my children, have the fear of Yahuwah in all your works before your eyes, and honor your brethren? For everyone who doth the law of Elohim shall be loved by him. And when I came to the Indokopite with the Ishmaelites, they asked me, saying, art thou a slave? And I said that I was a home-born slave, that I might not put my brethren to shame. So even though he's been misrepresented, you know, he still loves his brothers, you know, he still loves his brethren. He's not trying to sound them out. And there's a scripture in Leviticus where it says if somebody does wrong, you're supposed to sound them out. But then there's also other scriptures that say love covereth a multitude of sins. So he had that self-sacrificing love that even though he was innocent, he wasn't going to make his brothers guilty. And the eldest of them said unto me, the eldest of the Ishmaelites, thou art not a slave, for even thy appearance doth make it manifest. Now, some of us, this is what the Most High has revealed to me. When it comes to our neighbors, you know, those of our kinsmen. Now, I'm going to clarify and qualify what neighbors means. When you're at war, yeah, well, or a neighbor is basically those of your nation. That's pretty much what it is, point blank. And it, using it in a militaristic campaign, when he said love your enemy as you love yourself, he's talking about your enemy within your nation, your people, your nation. Now, there's many a times Yasharal went to war with other nations, their enemies. Literally, Goliath was an enemy of Yasharal. So, misapplying the text, love your neighbor as you love yourself, or pray for your enemies and those who despitefully use you. Yeshua was talking to Yasharal, and he was telling them how he should regard their fellow brethren, their nation. Now, could you imagine if there was at war and they're just loving all their enemies? Yeah, just kissing them, hugging them, embracing them. It doesn't make sense. There's many military campaigns in the book written for our learning, and they never loved their enemies in that way. They would combat their enemies with peace, and if the peace was refused, then it would war. You know, but never was it some, you know, you don't go to war and you're just hugging up people. That don't make no sense. Yeah, I just want to qualify that for the churchianity crowd. But swiftly moving on. As the eldest of them said unto me, thou art not a slave, because your appearance doth not make it manifest. But I said that I was their slave. Now when we came into Egypt, they strove concerning me, which of them should buy me and take me. Now, the reason that he didn't sell out his brothers, you know, is they would have died, you know. If he would have said, yo, dad, they did this, you know what the law requires, according to Exodus 21:16? And he that selleth a man, he that stealeth a man, was Joseph stolen? Yeah. And selleth him, was he sold to Midianites and Ishmaelites and Egyptians? Yeah. Who sold him? Was it Edom? Was it the wicked Edomites? Was it who originally sold him? His own family members. As I keep trying to tell people, when it came to the slave trade, yeah, you had the Ishmaelites and you had the Edomites and you had the Gentiles and you had all types of nations involved. But some of the compromisers, even in our recent slave trade, came from the house of Yasharal. But that's another story that I've touched on previously. So Joseph, his appearance bared witness against him. He didn't look like a slave. He looked like somebody of nobility. Even if he weren't wearing the clothes, his decorum, his pronunciation, his deportment, his posture, his elegance shine through even in his ragged garments. There was something different about him. He didn't seem like your average Joe. Who was favored? Who was blessed? What was trusted unto Joseph? Who convinced Potiphar to buy him? Now you're going to see a different name, but it is the same person, so don't get triggered. Give me 2 seconds and I'll just come right back. Therefore it seemed good to all that I should remain in Egypt with the merchant of the trade, until they should return bringing merchandise. So we stayed in Egypt with the merchant of their trade until they returned bringing merchandise. And the Elohim gave me favor in the eyes of the merchant, and he entrusted unto me his house. So who was favored? Joseph. And what did this favor, this special treatment, bring to him? What did this divine treatment bring to him? The merchant trusted him with his house. He was trusted to open the shop and close the shop. He was trusted to be over the merchant's products. He was elevated into a position of responsibility despite being a slave. And Yahuwah blessed him by means and increased him in gold and silver in the household and in household servants. So because Joseph was favored, who was blessed? The merchant. You know, there's some of our people that if we're not in certain places of employment, if we're not the nurses, if we're not the carpenters, if we're not the builders, nations aren't blessed, you know. Look at the Windrush generation, whole nation decimated. Who did they call over? They called over the Commonwealth. Which Commonwealth nation came in particularly? The Jamaicans, and rebuilt England. Not just the Jamaicans, the Caribbean in general, you know. Trinis, Bajans, you know, islanders, they came. The scattered diaspora of the house of Yasharal came and rebuilt places. Even in America, who built the White House? The Negro. Who made most of the inventions during slavery? The Negro. They say that adversity is the highest. There's no university like adversity. It was the slaves that were doing most of the labor and most of the things for the other nations due to oppression. And it was those people who created a lot of technological advancements to help them in their daily affairs. The master had no intention in doing things like that, but the slave wanted to cut corners and save time and be creative. And often people who you know, let's just say you don't have a lot of food in your cupboards, you're more creative and inventive than those who do. And likewise, this is what took place during our captivity. Many things were being made and engineered and pioneered by our people so that their life could be more easy, more convenient, as opposed to being oppressive. And the American nation has been blessed in substance and so on and so forth. And I was with him for 3 months and 5 days. Okay, sorry. Now this guy isn't. The merchant isn't Potiphar, Salaki. The other person will be. And about that time, the Memphian woman, the wife of Pentephreus, came down in a chariot with great pomp. She had heard from her eunuchs concerning me. So this is what took place before Yusuf came into the household of the Egyptian woman. And about that time, the Egyptian woman, the Memphian or Memphis woman, the wife of Pentephreus, came down in a chariot with great pomp because she had heard from her eunuchs concerning me. So Yusuf already had a massive reputation before he went into the household of Potiphar. And she told her husband that the merchant had become rich by the means of the young Hebrew. And they say that he had assuredly been stolen out of the land of Canaan. Now therefore render justice unto him, and take away the youth to thy house, so shall the Yahuwah of the Hebrews bless thee, for grace from heaven is upon him. And Pentephreus was persuaded by her words, and commanded the merchant to be brought, and said unto him, What is it? What is this that I hear concerning thee, that thou stealest persons out of the land of Canaan, and sellest them for slaves? But the merchant fell at his feet, and besought him, saying, I beseech thee, my lord, I know not what thou sayest. And Pentephreus said unto him, or Potiphar, Whence then is the Hebrew slave? And he said, The Ishmaelites entrusted him unto me until they should return. But he believed him not, but commanded him to be stripped and beaten. So this innocent merchant, who wasn't even a part of the plan, happens to get beaten innocently too. So sometimes our sins don't just impact us, but impacts other people because of what we have decided to do. So the sins of the 12 tribes or the 11 brothers, or, his brethren, didn't just get, it got a lot of people into trouble. This innocent merchant, he gets beat up and stripped. And when he persisted in his statement, Pentephreus said, Let the youth be brought. And then when I was brought in, I did obeisance, or he bowed down, to Pentephreus, for he was the third in rank of the officers of Pharaoh, so he was quite elevated. And he took me apart from him, and said unto me, Art thou a slave or free? And I said, A slave. And he said, Whose? And I said, The Ishmaelites. And he said, How didst thou become their slave? And I said, They brought me out of the land of Canaan. And he said unto me, Truly thou liest. And straightway he commanded me to be stripped and beaten. So everyone's getting beaten up now. Now the Memphis woman was looking through a window at the time while I was being beaten, for her house was near. And she sent unto him, saying, Thy judgment is unjust, for thou dost punish a free man who have been stolen, as though he were a transgressor. And when I had made no change in my statement, though I was beaten, so even though he's being beaten, and he's innocent, and he's being sold by his brethren, his brothers from the same dad but different moms, and we know how that can get sticky and divisive and crazy. Yeah, that's just a blended family to the highest, to the fifth power, And even though he's in that compromised state of being beaten, he didn't change his statement. He didn't, I wouldn't say he lied, but he didn't reveal the truth, the full truth of what took place. So he kept back the truth as to not put his brothers in danger. He ordered me to be imprisoned until he said the owners of the boy should come. And the woman said unto her husband, Wherefore dost thou detain the captive and well-born lad in bonds, who ought rather to be set at liberty and waited upon? So she's saying, nah, man, don't throw him to prison. That's a bit too rough and harsh. He deserves to, be in a place of convenience because he's innocent in all of this. For she wished to see me out of a desire of sin, but I was ignorant concerning all these things. So even though she said her pitch, what did she say in verse 49? He's a well-born lad. She was lusting for him from the beginning, but he wasn't aware. And he said to her, it is the custom of the Egyptians to take that which belongs to others before proof is given. Sorry, let's say that again. And he said to her, it is not the custom of the Egyptians to take that which belongeth to others before proof is given. This therefore he said concerning the merchant, as for the lad, he must be imprisoned. Now after 24 days came the Ishmaelites, for they had heard that Jacob, my father, was mourning much concerning me. And they came and said unto me, How is it that thou saidest that thou was a slave? And lo, we have learnt that thou art the son of a mighty man in the land of Canaan, and thy father still mourneth for thee in sackcloth and ashes. So Joseph was ignorant about the woman's real intent. And the Ishmaelites said, what are the Ishmaelites saying to Joseph? How come he didn't tell them about his origin? When I heard this, my bowels were dissolved and my heart melted, and I desired greatly to weep. But I restrained myself that I should not put my brethren to shame. Again, he's the youngest brother at this point. I don't know if Benjamin was around now or not around now. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's one of the... Can you imagine the youngest having such a mature attitude to the circumstance that he just so happened to find himself involved in? He didn't do anything wrong, but he found himself in this predicament. And for somebody so young to be so wise is amazing. You rarely see you rarely see that mentality today, apart from the Fred Hamptons and those kind of people. And I said unto them, I know not, I am a slave. Then therefore they took counsel to sell me, that I should not be found in their hands. So they was like, yo, I don't want this Hebrew boy in our company because something don't seem right about the story. Something don't seem right. Let's get rid of him. Let's sell him on. I don't want to be a part of the conspiracy. Who was determined to buy Joseph? For when they heard he was mighty with God and with men, they said the merchant unto them, release me from the judgment of Pentry. And they came and requested me, saying, say thou was brought by us with money, and he will set us free. So they said, say that you was brought with money, and they will set us free. Now the Memphis woman said to her husband, buy the youth, for I hear, that they are selling him. So she was like, I heard that they're going to sell him. You need to buy him. And straight away she sent a eunuch to the Ishmaelites and asked them to sell me. But since the eunuchs would not agree to buy me at the price, he returned, having made trial of them. And he made known to his mistress that they asked a large price for their slave. And she sent another eunuch, saying, even though they demand 2 minas, give them, do not spare the gold, only buy the boy, and bring him to me. So this is like a slave auction, man. An Egyptian slave auction. And this woman is looking at him potentially as a sex toy. Yeah? She wants him as a sex toy. And many slaves that were brought and purchased in America, they were purchased as sex toys, which is an interesting history in and of itself. All right, coming to the end of the study. Do you also do what? What does your delight in? The eunuch therefore went and gave them 80 pieces of silver, and he received me. But to the Egyptian woman he said, I have given 100. And though I knew this, I held my peace, lest the eunuch should put me to shame. So the eunuch was a straight up pimp. Yeah, the eunuch was a pimp, man. The eunuch said, therefore went and gave them 80 pieces of gold. And he received me. That means he said, yeah, man, that's enough money. We'll make the exchange. But to the Egyptian woman, he said, I have given 100. So he just made a quick profit. And though I knew this, I held my peace, lest the eunuch should put me to shame. You see, therefore, my children, What great things I endured, that I should not put my brethren to shame. He didn't put the eunuch to shame, didn't put his brethren. The eunuch would have been killed if he told him the truth. His brothers may have been, well, the law required them to be killed if the truth would have came out in that way. He says, do you also therefore, let's see what he says now. He says, see ye therefore my children, so he's talking back to his children now as an old man, what great things I endured, that I should not put my brethren to shame. Now he's going to ask you, who's listening now, you individually, personally, do ye also therefore love one another, and with long suffering hide ye one another's faults? Or do we put them on blast? Do we put them on display? Do we do this vainglory thing? Well, I fast twice a day, and I keep the Sabbath holy, not like Shanika. You know Shanika, last Sabbath, yeah, she I heard that she did this, you know. I don't commit adultery, but you know, yesterday I heard that Brother John, he was watching porno, publicly just humiliate people, put them to shame. Or do we address them privately and take it from there? Because, you know, Joseph did address them. He didn't just, you know, sweep it under the rug. He addressed the past, but he didn't put them on blast. But most of us love blast. We love notoriety. We love a scene. We love a commotion. And then we love devotion. But he was like, no, sir. You know, even people who donate to charity, they put up these massive placards like celebrities and they say he gave $1 million to charity. Everyone likes to be seen and everyone likes to be observed. No one really likes to do things incognito. He asked his brothers or his children and his grandchildren, do ye also therefore love one another, and with long suffering hide ye one another's faults? For Yahuwah delighteth in the unity of the brethren, again regarding the nation, and in purpose of a heart that takes pleasure in love. Now, what is love now by this definition of what we're looking at? Love is long suffering. We know that Yahushua was long suffering with us. When we were living recklessly, when we were doing some silly things and stupid things and still do reckless and silly things, the Most High is patient with us. He doesn't just enact the law against us like that, but there's grace, mercy, and opportunity. And when my brethren came into Egypt, they learnt that I had returned their money unto them, and upbraided them not, and comforted them. Joseph's innocent, right? And he's comforting his brethren, his kinsmen, who did him wrong. Usually, isn't the offender supposed to comfort the offended? This is helping me to see things about forgiveness and asking for forgiveness. And sometimes I've even got this wrong myself. We expect people that have done us wrong to you know, come to us on a humble tip, when sometimes just our humility towards them can destroy them and make them see the error of their ways. We looked at last Sabbath or the Sabbath before how his brothers became seriously ill through stress, through guilt, through shame anyway, because of what they did to their brother anyway. So justice was served anyway. But some of us want to go around doing our own justice and acting like we're a vigilante superhero, fighting wars that the Most High told us not to fight. And then we wonder why we get killed like Josiah in the battle. And when my brethren came into Egypt, they learned that I had returned their money unto them, and upbraided them not, and comforted them. And after the death of Jacob, my father, I loved them more abundantly. That's crazy, you know. That's some serious forgiveness right there, you know. And all things whatsoever he commanded, I did very abundantly for them. and I suffered them not to be afflicted in the smallest matter, and all that was in my hand I gave unto them. Many relationships that we have, fractured relationships that we have with our brothers, could be repaired if we kind of just took that counsel. And I'm not gonna lie, I find these kind of principles difficult, you know. Especially if someone does you a major injustice and you're just supposed to say, "Oh, let's reconcile." Yeah. So that's interesting. Joseph exalted not what? Joseph was among them as a what? Was Joseph ugly or was Joseph handsome? Why would this woman be trying to get into so much trouble over this young man if he was some ugly, buttered, you know, you know what I'm saying? Some Shrek looking brother, you know? Because we do have some Shrek brothers and we have some, you know, all types of brothers and sisters that look, you know, in various different ways, but everyone's beautiful in their own way. But was this brother beautiful or was he just ugly? And their children were my children. So his brother's children became his children, and my children as their servants. So his children looked after, because you got to look at it as well, you know. His family probably would have been, he's the youngest son. Well, Benjamin was the youngest, he was the second. So his children may have been like the youngest, or one of the youngest children. So they were looking after their uncles who were older, and they was kind of doing that. There was kind of a, you know what I'm trying to say. So they were like servants or looking after their uncles and their uncles' children, and their life was my life, and their suffering was my suffering. So even though they were suffering with sickness and infirmity, he suffered with them, and all their sickness was my infirmity. My land was their land, their counsel my counsel. I exalted not myself among them in arrogance because of my worldly glory, but I was among them as one of the least. True story. I'm rather just going to say a quick true story on this point because it's sobering. One of my brothers actually stopped speaking to me, you know, because I was married and had children, but I had gone through a similar Joseph experience. I've been homeless. I've lived on the streets, so to speak. I've been in a pit, circumstantially, metaphorically, yeah. And the Most High has given me favor to come out of certain situations where there was just no hope. I remember sharing a sofa with a snake. Like my brother used to keep snakes, and it was in a container. But you know, and being homeless and sofa surfing to where I am now, the Most High is blessed and continues to do so, and it's just been amazing. But one of my brothers actually stopped talking to me because of the favor that the Most High had bestowed upon me while being in that predicament. Because my lifestyle, being married, was kind of he considered it kind of like a rebuke because his lifestyle wasn't going as intended. So when he saw his younger brother's lifestyle, it was a rebuke to him. But I'm ignorant to the fact until recently it was revealed, you know. But that's just interesting because I never went around exalting myself like that. But just your lifestyle can be a rebuke to people to the extent where they don't even want to communicate with you, because to communicate with you will remind them of where they've went wrong. Verse 66, and I exalted not myself among them in arrogance because of my worldly glory. How many of us have siblings and we've been educated and we flaunt around our accolades to show that we're more, intelligent or learned than our brethren, or we get a promotion, or we do well in some sport or some entertainment or whatever, and we just parade it around the house. But what was Joseph like? Joseph was second at one point in charge of Egypt. Egyptians were not always beefing with the house of Yasharal. That's another lie too. There was That's another thing that I won't get into right now, but we've touched on it previously. There wasn't always this beef and contention. And there was actually an instigator, according to Jubilees, that led to the Pharaoh and what he did to the children of Yasharal. But we've covered that in our Jubilee study. So Joseph, just for being Joseph, made his own brethren fall out with him and despise him and plan wickedness against him, unbeknownst to Joseph. And I exalted not myself among them in arrogance because of my worldly glory, because of what I attained in Egypt, but I was among them as one of the least. If ye also therefore walk in the commandments of Elohim, my children, he will exhort you there, and will bless you with good things forever and ever. And if anyone seeketh to do evil unto you, do well unto him, and pray for him, and ye shall be redeemed of the Elohim from all evil. For behold, ye see that out of my humility and longsuffering I took unto wife the daughter of the priest Heliopolis, and 100 talents of gold were given me with her, and Elohim made them to serve me. And he gave me also beauty as a flower beyond the beautiful ones of Israel. And he preserved me unto old age in strength and in beauty, because I was like in all things to Jacob. So we know that Joseph was extremely beautiful, handsome young man, and he never exalted himself or showed off his worldly achievements to cause jealousy and envy. And I found some quotes just with this in mind. It says, "Take ye upon me and learn from me." What are we supposed to learn from Yahushua? He says, "For I am gentle, lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Don't mean he was docile and a hippie, but gentle in terms of approachable, lowly as in not egotistical, and you will find rest. Rest as in peace. If you take this approach, you'll always have a peaceful outlook and always have a positive mindset. I found this quote. It says, "I admire people who choose to shine even after all the storms they've been through." And it says, "Be humble in your confidence, yet courageous in your character." "And hear ye, my children, also the vision which I saw. There were 12 hearts feeding, and the 9 were first dispersed all over the earth, and likewise also the 3. And I saw that from Judah was born a virgin wearing a linen garment, and from her was born a lamb without spot, and on his left hand there was as it were a lion, and all the beasts rushed against him. And the lamb overcame them, and destroyed them, and trod them under foot. And because of him, Yahushua, the angels and men rejoiced, and all the land. And these things shall come to pass in their season in the last days. Do ye therefore, my children, observe the commandments of Elohim, and honor Levi and Judah, for from them shall arise unto you the Lamb of Yahuwah, who taketh away the sin of the world, one who saveth all the Gentiles and Israel." Now the all obviously is those who choose to walk away from sin and seek him in righteousness. The same with Israel too. Not all of Israel will be saved, even though it says all of Israel will be saved. So contextually, it's those who are seeking the Most High. "For his kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, which shall not pass away. But my kingdom among you shall come to an end, as a watcher's hammock, which after the summer disappeareth." So saying, the Most High's kingdom is everlasting, but my kingdom currently on this earth is like a watcher's hammock. You know, when you see the hammock, it's summer. When a hammock goes away, it's usually because of winter, or because there's no point sitting on a hammock because it's too cold. So Joseph's final advice to his sons and grandsons was what? Observe the commandments of Elohim and to honor the brethren. "For I know that after my death the Egyptians will afflict you But Yahuwah will avenge you, and bring you into that which he promised to your fathers. But ye shall carry up my bones with you. For when my bones are taken up hither, the Elohim shall be with you in light, and Bilal be in darkness with the Egyptians. And carry ye up Asenath your mother to the hippodrome, and near Rachel your mother bury her. And when he had said these things, he stretched out his feet, and died at a good old age. And Israel mourned for him, and all Egypt with great mourning. So how did Israel and Egypt respond to his death? Egypt and Israel mourned for Joseph. And when the children of Israel went out of Egypt, they took with them the bones of Joseph, and they buried him in Hebron with his fathers. So what was done with his bones? They buried him with his fathers. In Genesis it says, And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and God will surely visit you, and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, Yahuwah will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Yusuf died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt, and then eventually was taken out of Egypt. And interestingly, when I was in Egypt, I was on a tour guide, and they have the original place where Yusuf was buried still preserved in Egypt, and it was just concrete that history validates the Bible, and there's tangible things there still in place that just reaffirm that our faith is built on a strong foundation and not sinking sand. That being said, that's the end of the study, and I hope everybody found it interesting. And before I say the catchphrase, I just want to say, man, he gave counsel of how the dad who was married to their mom gave counsel about how they was to bury their mom and where they were supposed to bury their mom. And due to blended and fractured families, you're having other people advising where you bury the mom and what you do with the mom, or you're having fractured families advising you where to bury the dad and how to bury the dad, when really the counsel's supposed to be coming on what you do with your mother or your father from the person that there was in a relationship with. But due to being scattered and fractured, it's coming from all types of places, and and again, that's the role. And this is why I encourage people to marry and do the right thing the first time, so you don't have fractured relationships and fractured families. Get it together the first time, because all you're going to produce is divided loyalty and contention. Now, that being said, I'm rambling over. I hope that you found all of this useful and that we can apply it to our daily lives. And as always, provoking thought.
I'll probably continue to use
That was so great. So great.
Whom having not seen ye love, in whom though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory.
Rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times in the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times in the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times in the voice. Trust in I and rejoice. Rejoice like the leper who was healed. Rejoice like you got paid and paid the bill. Rejoice
It's like you've got processed the rows of meals. I know people are hungry, can't hold a meal. I know people are poor and can't pay a bill. I know people with diseases I wanna heal, but rejoice louder than the ones who hold me. The king of kings to hold the wheel. In death or in breath, they've tasted and have seen. They know yours real. So in any they know the deal. Your giveth, take away of is that simple.
Rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hits. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice. And again I say hard times, low times, hit the vote. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice.
Situations go, and it's random like itty mighty mo. Keep rejoicing, watch your faith grow. Hard not life on this yellow brick road, but we know you're still sitting dressed in a gown. Angels all around, faces will drop when he descends from the clouds. Rejoice today, don't envy the proud. Stand for the truth, don't stand for the crowd. The verse will be last, gas won't be found. The world's like a garden, you'll reap where you plowed. Rejoice is a choice, praise the Father aloud.
And the rest, you don't need to. You are blessed, you just know be stressed. You don't need to. Just rejoice today. Rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Hard times, low times, hear the voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice. And again I say rejoice. Hard times, low voice. Trust in the Most High and rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice. And again I say rejoice. Times, low times.